Hey guys, how's it going? So we've got a couple of things for today. Our planting project is garlic. We're going to be planting 4 different varieties up here in one of our 3x6 raised beds, which I usually plant 2 beds full of garlic, but 1 bed yields quite a lot. And I'm just kind of messing with the numbers of different crops that we grow based on how long I can store them, how much we actually use, and how much space I want to dedicate to them. So I'm going to try just doing 1 raised bed this year and trying out some new varieties as well. So I normally grow the Italian softneck, and I've used off of my own crop every single year for years now. I haven't bought any garlic, but I bought 3 other hardneck varieties that I thought would be fun to try as well. And then the other thing that we're going to do is look at the area around the Hartley and in the back garden, because we've got a lot going on back there. I do know that Aaron popped a camera out in the back garden this morning when Chad started his job, because when he does a clear out job, it happens fast and it's easier to film. The bricks around the Hartley we haven't filmed at all, I don't think at all, because it's such a slow process. You guys know how projects are around here. The way it works is that they come and work on it a little bit, and then they either need to wait for supplies or they need to go work on another job, and then they come back and work on it a little bit more, and we never know when they're going to show up. So it's one of those things that we're never quite ready with a camera right, you know, when they're ready to start, and it's just so long. It would be a really hard process to film. So what I'm thinking of doing is maybe every other video, or whenever there's changes over there, I'll just pop out at the beginning of the video and show you a progress update, because I don't think it's going to be too much longer until it's done. Knock on wood. It's looking awesome though. I'm loving it. And I think the crew's still over there, but I think we can just run over and take a look. But real quick before we head over to the Hartley, this is the garlic we're planting today. So this is our harvest down in this basket. This is the Italian. I waited too long to harvest it this year, you guys. So some of it kind of like started to split. It still has its skin, which is nice. So it will store decently, but not as good as a head that's completely intact like this. But we've got Spanish Rojo, gorgeous. We've got a variety called Music and a variety called Dynasty, I'm not real sure. Anyway, it's real pretty. Okay, let's head out this direction. Now, the area that Chad is clearing out, it's got circle boxwoods, you know. Also the corner, the triangle-shaped boxwoods at the fountain, that's all going too. And it's painful for me to watch. In fact, when he started in, Aaron was out here watching him, standing out here watching him, and I was like, nope, I can't do it, because even though it's going to be good in the end and it will connect to our space better and we will create a space we actually want to go be in, and that was the problem. This back garden, we never went into it, and that's a shame, you know. Like, put your spaces to use, like put some seating out somewhere, create a space that you just want to go out and be in, and that's what we're hoping for in the end. But it still doesn't make the process easy. I mean, we moved tons of plants went to friends and families' homes, tons of plants went out into the south garden, so we did our best there to repurpose what we could, but there's still some things that we couldn't, and they're getting torn down. It's just it's hard to watch. But this, you guys, is so exciting. So I'm standing right here in the area where that brick patio used to be, and I think the circular raised bed was like right in here. We had seating over here, which we are going to create again because we used that the most, and of all the seating in our property. There was kind of like a fence that just stopped right here, and there was a wood arbor sort of thing right in this area. We probably have footage we can pop up. And then right over here, there was just a little patch of grass. Also, there was a little tool shed right here. And this is where, you know, the pines and the gazebo was here. What I really wanted for this area was to create 2 separate spaces, 2 different rooms in the garden, which is hard to do when most of your property is flat. You know, you either need to, you know, do it with plants is basically what I do it with. And I don't like making a space look like it doesn't belong. You know, that's why I don't use a ton of big boulders in our garden or rocks and things like that, because we don't have them in this area. And it looks a little bit, or I think it can be done really well, but sometimes it looks a little bit too contrived. So I like to kind of go with the natural, what your space looks like. But we had just enough grade in this area to create a step down into the Hartley area. So this whole space where the brick patio was, this will be flagstone patio. We are going to create another raised bed in the center. It might be for water, some kind of fountain, or, you know, whatever, or it might be a planting area. And then we want to have seating all over in this area, because this space is so nice at night. We have a golden rain tree here. We have an ash tree right there, which I think we are about ready to lose. I'll show you why. It was full of borers when we moved in, and we do treat. We have been treating it, but I think it was too far gone. So it's a gorgeous multi-trunk, but look at this. Like, that's frass. I mean, borers have just wreaked havoc with this tree. There's holes everywhere. There's a hole, there's fresh frass right there, or just like sawdust that they leave when they enter the tree. So I think for sure this whole branch, it's like a tree, this whole section is gonna go. This one is not nearly as infected, but there's still some damage. I see some up here. If you take a look at the tree, you can tell a definite difference. This side always seeds out. It's trying to perpetuate its life. This side does not. This side yellows up first in the fall. This side does not, because this side's stressed. So that will be sad. We will probably put another tree here, and I would love a multi-trunk. I mean, I just think they're so gorgeous. Anyway, that does provide a little shade for this area. We also have the red point. There's an old lilac in there. There's an eastern redbud. And then we've got the 4 Pacific Sunset maples that are going to be planted kind of at the 4 corners of this area. So that one will fill in this space here where that other maple was. So, you know, we had that big maple tree installed right here. And, you know, I gotta say, while it's a huge sad thing that it didn't survive, when we cut it down, it was full of borers. And we didn't know that. We didn't see any evidence of that, but it was crazy. So I think even if we tried to limp that tree along, eventually it would have needed to come out. So I'm so thankful that all of it came like to a head this year, and we just took it out before we even had all of this rock and brickwork done, because it would have been exponentially harder to remove, you know, trying to work around all that stonework. And also it allowed me to do my design a little bit differently, because, you know, things shift around. When you start a project, see the lines when it actually gets down on the ground rather than on paper, it's different. And so it allowed me to shift some things that I really wanted to be able to shift. So anyway, so flagstone here, we had a huge stone installed here as kind of our step down into this area. So when we step down, we'll be going down into gravel. So this area, all the pathways around here will be gravel, all lined with this brick border, and then this is planting area. So we're going to be planting 2 trees in here different than the maples, and then the maple trees will be going in right here. So there'll be one here, and then there'll be one on the other side mirroring. So it'll be a beautiful kind of frame in of the Hartley. I think it's going to be absolutely gorgeous. Now on the back side of all these bricks, or on the outer, I guess, the outer part of the bricks, there's going to be boxwood hedging. So all along here, that follows the trajectory. This stone wall is going to move back a little bit, because we want 2 feet between this point and where the rock is, because that's about how big our boxwoods will be. Right there. And then we plan on planting something right in here. And there's Benny with his tape measure. It's a lot of measuring this job. So the trees on the north and south will be the Pacific Sunset maples, which they're so gorgeous. They're so gorgeous, deep green leaves, and they're not going to get so big that they'll create canopy over the greenhouse. They will create some shade at the part of the day where they need to, but they're not going to put limbs up over the glass, which I think is important. And then in these 2 littler cutouts, I've got some Taylor's junipers coming, which they're kind of like Italian cypress. They give that super strong upward structure, but they stay very narrow, deep green. We haven't planted them in our area because I think they're only hardy to a zone 6, which we technically are now. So I might try those, or I might do a multi-trunk birch that stays a little bit more narrow to kind of frame in this area. So I'm not sure if I want it to look more arborish or if I want some really strong evergreen structure, because I am putting in more Taylors behind the Hartley. So the maple will be over here, and then, you know, either the multi-trunk birch here and here to create that, you know, rounded entry to this area, or strong evergreen structure. I don't know. We'll probably put another tree up kind of where those boxwoods are all grouped together. And then to flank every opening, I'm going to do big pillars. So there's going to be a pillar here and a pillar here just back from the stone wall, and they'll have pots on them. And then our boxwoods will come from the fireplace area. You can see I've already got some here. These are winter gems, so we're matching what's already here. So this box hedge will come to the pillar, and then we're going to start the other boxwood hedge here, and it will go over, and then we're going to box in this whole area so it creates more of a closed-in feel. But they are just doing such a phenomenal job on these bricks. It's just so fun to see what I had down on paper like actually come to life, and it actually works. Surprises me every time. Right here, boxwood hedging, we're going to have, like, I've got a bunch of alliums I think we're going to plant in here, kind of a fun spring whimsy going on. There's going to be a great big pot right here, which we already have. In fact, they're the 2 pots flanking Versailles opening up there. We're going to move those because I have 4 of them. 2 are here and 2 are in front of the greenhouse right now. But we're going to put 1 here and then 1 right here. And then we'll have our benches back here that look out on this area. You can see they've just started in. We've got 4 squares back here with a circle middle, and then we'll have, you know, some kind of a something in the center. And then I think I'm going to do Taylor's junipers lining the back side. So 3 on the back side of this square and then 3 on the back side of that one, creating kind of walls almost to really room in this space back here. And then I've got to clear this. This bed needs to be cleared out. I'm going to take out that weeping cherry. I just never really liked weeping cherries that much, and I don't like the structure there. And I need to get rid of this borage. Oh my gosh, it's just taking over. And then I'm going to redirect the pallet walkway. So that will still be its own space. There will be a tree right here, kind of providing more shade for this area. Anyway, here's a look back toward where the flagstone patio is going to be, and we are working toward cleaning out the area behind the barn so we can park gators back there and then actually park our trucks in the barn, which would be really fantastic. This is where we park right now, and we just thought, you know, later on down the road, once this is all done and all beautiful, it'd be nice to look across and see the raised bed garden and the west side instead of seeing our car sitting there. But it's looking absolutely beautiful, loving the lines. And I think it's plenty of walkway. I think we ended up with about 7 feet here, but we're maintaining 6 feet for everything else. So it's 6 feet from here to here. And, you know, no plants will come into that because they're all going to be behind the bricks. So it'll be a nice open area. And then I even thought, you know, I can line up pots here, or if I'm working with seed trays and I need to harden stuff, you know, we can work between the cold frames and moving them out. I could also put a little like bistro set out here to sit in. And then we are going to be, you know, retooling sprinklers so we can fix the grass out here. And this is kind of where they have worked to this morning. See how much that's kind of built up right here? It does slope more than I thought it did, but oh, it's coming along great. So underneath the gravel and all the walkway areas, we are putting down landscape fabric. That's what we did in our raised bed garden in the walkway areas, because it's not an area we're going to be planting. So I'm not super worried about the soil right there. And it takes down weed growth so much, which eliminates the need to 1, pull them or 2, spray them, which is 2 things I don't really want to be doing. So landscape fabric down, which is the DeWitt Pro, that's the only kind we use, and then a layer of 3/4 inch chip gravel in usually like a gray or a blue color. So it gives like that cooling. It's the same stuff that's in our driveway. Okay guys, now let's look at the back garden. Okay, so looking into the Hartley, swinging around, we'll have a bench here, another pot, and then we'll have this will be our view from the back of the Hartley. You can see there's a hose back there, hose link. We're gonna move the water because we're actually abandoning the sprinkler line that it's attached to. And so there'll be a arbor at the lane on this side of the lane and an arbor on the back side that match. So when you look back through here, you will look right underneath the arbor into something beautiful I'll have in the back of that garden. And then we're hoping to plant it up really thick and almost block that whole garden off so it's kind of a secret space. So let's walk it here. That little pin right there marks the center of the circle, so you'd walk kind of around the circle, and then of course the forks won't be there. Arbor here, this will all be lined in brick as well, the whole driveway. And then an arbor here, and Chad has been hard at it. So all the grass that was back here, which was looking so crappy, it needed to be pulled up. It was like half dead and a little bit of green. Boxwoods have started to be lifted. I'm going to come back through because he's not going so deep that the alliums, I can't save the alliums, so I'm going to try to save those. We are saving the parts of the fountain that aren't broken, and we're going to use that. And then he's just going to continue on here, kind of moving through this space. We are going to remove the old hedge of lilacs, so the smoke bush in the corner will stay, and then the lilacs will go because those are super full of borers as well, and I don't want to have to chemically treat a whole bunch of stuff. So we're going to take those out and utilize some of the new evergreens we just picked up at Malad Tree Farm to kind of create our border back here, which will go all the way out to about where their tip trailer is. So this whole garden space, you can see the arbor's gone. We'll probably put that back up, but all of this stuff's gonna go. But all the new stuff we planted back here, for the most part, is looking pretty good. We lost one Deodora cedar that was on that side, but this one's actually producing new growth, which is awesome. We've got a crab apple, some birch trees, pines, some blue spruce. Oh, we did lose the Vanderwolf pine right there. The root ball broke when we planted it. But like I said, it is a hard thing to watch go down. And you know, it's something we've done a bunch around here just to make the garden more something that we like, something that feels like an expression of our style, I guess. And then trying to make it more usable. And so that's one of the things I think I've said from the beginning. You know, if you have things in your garden you don't like, or not even necessarily don't like, but they're in the wrong spot and it's just like cramping your style, it's a plant. You can replant plants. And that's what I keep telling Aaron, like, I loved this boxwood circle for what it was at the time, but you know, I still didn't even come back here and look at it ever. But when I happened to see it, I'm like, oh, that's pretty, but this whole space is pretty much unusable. So I thought, you know, even if we get this removed, there is some dead in these boxwoods, so it's probably, you know, getting close to time to replace them anyway. I could plant the same exact thing somewhere else, you know, or make it a little smaller, or just scale it to the area a little bit better. But let me tell you, Aaron's excited. This kind of thing right here, it makes Aaron so happy. So that's fun to see him. Like, I don't know, he's the good balance for me, because I get so stuck in habit, I guess, and I don't like to see upheaval. I don't like the process of having things torn out and having that interim period where things just like, ugh, you know, like they looked better prior to us messing with it, even though in the end, after we have a chance to really dedicate some time and some budget and all of that to this space, I think it's going to look really, really pretty. But he sees it as a step forward. He sees all the destruction as like, yeah, we're one step closer to that end goal. So anyway, it's good for me to like always bounce all of the stuff off of him, because he brings fresh perspective to my thought process. He did make sure, though, he lined up to have a couple of truckloads of compost brought in at the end of this week, because this should be done. Today is Tuesday. This whole clear out will probably be done today back here. And so we're just going to, for the time being, spread compost all over the top of the soil, because I think that the soil needs it anyway. It's been sitting back here just kind of the same forever. So I think adding some of that good stuff will be good. It will also tidy it up and make it look really nice. Then we're going to go through and mark out where we want our grass pathway. We'll do a 10-foot one through this area, and that's all the grass that we're going to have back here, rather than that huge big long lawn. And then we're also going to mark out where we want the driveway, because right now it's incredibly wide back here. So we're going to figure out how wide we want it to match the rest of the driveway and figure out where those lines need to be. So anyway, you guys, that's where we're at back here with the Hartley and the back garden. And then, like I said, I will come back here however often I need to give you guys updates so you can see it. And then I'm sure Aaron, I don't know if he'll pop the footage in this video of the destruction of this back area, you know, Chad's job, but we won't have any of that for the brick area. One thing that I kind of take comfort in is that this whole chicken coop area that looks more cottagey, a little bit more free-form, I guess, it's not going to change. I actually noticed the question as to whether or not we're going to move our chicken coop quite a lot because of its proximity to the Hartley. I've noticed people wondering about the smell and wondering, just wondering about it. And we're going to leave it right where it's at. I don't notice a smell with our chicken coop. It doesn't smell. We clean it out on a weekly basis, not a deep clean. It does get deep cleaned several times throughout the year, like edge to edge, but on a weekly basis, we rake all the stuff out. I mean, even in the summer when it's hot, I don't notice the smell unless maybe like I'm right inside it, possibly. And we had fresh stuff in all the time, you know, like I see some cabbage plants in there. I tossed a few strawberries that I accidentally forgot to put in the fridge. They sat on the counter for a couple of days, and so they were kind of mushy. I put them in here, and whatever is left, we just gather it up because sometimes we put so much in there they can't make it through there or through all the stuff, but we just don't let stuff sit in there long enough for it to smell. So that hasn't been an issue, thankfully. Oh, but you guys, I look through here at the views, and it's just so pretty. I see that brickwork just coming along. Once we've got some green edging, you know, like hedging the whole thing in, oh, it's gonna be gorgeous. The one last thing we're gonna be doing out here, all of these great big rocks, we're going to be replacing with stack stone like we had done around our back kitchen entrance, just to, you know, kind of continue on with the same themes. And see, like these types of rocks, I have no idea where they got them. Not from our property, that's for sure. And some of them look like they're chunks of like a wall. See that? It looks like there's mortar or whatever they call it in between. They just kind of used whatever they had at the moment, which is fine. I've never really minded these rocks that ring this flower bed, but as we go through each area, we kind of want to use some of the same things so that it looks like a little bit of a cohesive plan. Does that make sense? But anyway, task at hand for today. Let me show you which raised bed we are going to be working in, because everything else is full. I've got stuff coming up in all of these beds. And let's see, and like the basil, it hasn't gotten cold enough to take the basil yet. We've got broccoli going in that one. This is the only one that we have available, 3 by 6. I typically do 4 rows, which is quite perfect because we have 4 types of garlic. And we'll just make our, I'm actually gonna go grab a garden fork and work this soil just a little bit because it's more compacted toward that end. But we'll make, you know, a 2-inch deep trench, and we space our garlic about 4 inches apart. We use quite a bit of the Biotone starter fertilizer and Land and Sea. Garlic is an extremely heavy feeder. All alliums are, onions and garlic. So it's something that when we plant those, we make sure to amend the bed. That's the only time they get fertilizer. I don't fertilize them throughout the season. So I find that proper bed preparation in the beginning, like adding the amendments in, is quite important. Last year, I planted my garlic way too early. I planted them in September. I think that's part of my problem as to why they kind of split open, because I'm used to planting in October, and then I harvest right around 4th of July, which I maintained the same harvest schedule, but because I planted them so much earlier, they came up a lot faster in the fall. I had quite a bit of growth, and they had tip burn in the spring, which I typically don't deal with, and they just were a little bit more of a meager crop. I do need to replace the drip in that raised bed like I have been doing as I've been clearing out beds this late summer, fall. But I'm gonna amend the soil first so I don't have any drip lines in the way. So this is it, you guys. Biotone starter fertilizer, Land and Sea. We're gonna just dump that in, kind of fork up that soil, break it up, and then we'll run the drip. So I gotta go grab my garden fork and we're gonna get after it. All right, guys, got the soil all done. The drip is done. You can see where I came off of this hose faucet with an adapter. So 3/4 inch to 1/2 inch adapter. So this one threads on the hose. And then I've got a 1/2 inch black poly supply line where all of these 1/4 inch, I just used little couplers, tapped it into that supply line and ran 4 6-foot long runs and just ended them down there. That seems to be working really well. And it'll be perfect because I will plant all my garlic right alongside each one of the drip lines, so they'll have very efficient water right to their root system. And whenever I come in with more amendments, which I do whenever I plant a new crop, it always raises the soil level up above the side of the raised bed, but it will settle back down pretty quickly once we start watering. I'm actually going to add in a little bit more Biotone. I don't think I added in quite enough, so I'm just gonna sprinkle some along the rows. And because the soil's all fluffy, I don't have to dig a trench for this garlic. Typically I do like a 2-inch deep trench, but this time around I can just set all the cloves on top and then pop them down in. It makes it so nice. Okay, so the differences between what I'm planting, I've got the 3 varieties of hardneck, which were all new ones to the garden this year, and then my 1 Italian variety that's softneck. So softneck typically stores a little bit longer than your hardneck. It's usually a little bit more mild in flavor. Typically you'll get more cloves per head. I mean, it depends completely on the variety. And honestly, I don't know that I could tell a difference between garlic varieties unless it was very, like if one variety was way more pungent than the other. Garlic's kind of just garlic to me. We use a lot of it. But with our soft neck garlic, you can see like the neck is soft. You can bend it. This is a good type to braid. And then, let's grab a hard neck. So this one is the Danaski. Right here, there's no bending that stem. See that hard stem? It goes right down into the center of the garlic head. Typically, now again, it's dependent on variety, but they may have larger cloves, and it's usually in a circle around that center stem. A lot of times with softneck, you end up with like overlapping cloves, so you'll have just, sometimes just more. But with all garlic, no matter what you're growing, what you will do is you'll take your garlic, if you can get the skin off the outer part. If you're going to store them, keep that skin intact. They will store a lot longer. But when you get ready to plant, my goodness, this is like the hardest one I've ever tried to pull apart. Oh, see, this is a great example. See how on this soft neck, you've got the central stem, and then there's cloves inside, and then there's cloves also ringing around the outside. Oftentimes in hard neck, sometimes you'll find that, but oftentimes it's just one row. But you will separate it like this, keep the skin, keep the skin on the cloves like this, and you will plant them pointy side up. So they'll go down 2 inches down right here. So the whole clove won't be 2 inches completely under the surface, although I don't think it matters that much. But this one clove will turn into a head in one growing season. Isn't that amazing? So like this one head, which this is a fairly small one. Like I said, our crop was fairly small this year. Let's see how many heads of garlic we'll get just from this one. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So we will get 11 heads of garlic from one clove that I planted last year. Isn't that awesome? So for example, maybe we'll do Italian in this row right here. Get rid of this stuff. Sprinkle a little bit more biotone. And then we're just going to space these out about 4 inches apart from one another. Usually I just plant the nice big ones. So I'll take the smaller ones in and cook with them, but we want to perpetuate nice big garlic. Okay, so then you take your clove, pop it 2 inches down like that, cover it over, and we're gonna water it in. And that's all there is to this process. I mean, I'll water it in by hand today just to settle the soil and kind of clean off the raised bed. And then the drip system is gonna run for not that much longer. I mean, we are getting fairly warm during the day still, but you know, it won't last for that long. And then it might come up this fall. We might see some green peeking through, which is great. If not, it'll come up in the spring, and then we just let it grow through the spring. It gets consistent water from us. Probably would head up a little bit better if we did like a mid-season side dress of Garden Tone, just for that a little extra boost of nutrients. And then we harvest around 4th of July. So we've done other videos about garlic harvest, garlic varieties. So you can always check those out if you're interested. So I've got my labels here. Got these from Gardener's Supply. Aren't they pretty? Slate ones. And then I use a chalk marker, and it lasts. It does really well. So I'm just going to ID each row here and get this done. Whoa, look at the size of these cloves. See, this variety's music, it's a hard neck. The stalk goes right down through the center, and there's just great big cloves around the outside, and fewer of them, 5 of them are on this one. Massive cloves though. Got them all planted. I was able to fit 64 cloves of garlic in this 3x6 raised bed, which I feel like is pretty good. It still gives the garlic plenty of room to grow, have plenty of airflow and light and all of that stuff. And I feel like by switching the drip out, they're going to do so much better this next year. That was another thing that a lot of my crops in here struggled with this year. Our drip system just was not performing. It was plugged up in spots. I was doing too long runs of 1/4 inch. I really hadn't struggled with the system up until this point, but this new way of running it seems to be doing the trick and providing much better coverage. So I think by switching out the drip, having a different system for that, and then also waiting to plant them until a little bit more of an appropriate time, hopefully we'll have a really good harvest. And 64 heads of garlic for my family, I mean, that's over 1 head of garlic per week. And you know, some weeks I use a little bit more, some weeks a little bit less. So it might seem like a ton to some of you guys, but it might not seem like very much to others you out there who use a ton of it. I typically get about 9 months shelf life out of my garlic before it starts to kind of atrophy a little bit. We keep it in that basket in the root cellar, just open to the open air. And the root cellar we typically keep right about 45, 47-ish, and the humidity right about 60. I have to kind of strike a balance because I'm storing a lot of different things in there, you know, onions and garlic, but also dahlia tubers and potatoes and fruit and squash and pumpkins and stuff like that. So I've got to kind of try to find that middle ground. Well, I'm really excited to try out all of these new varieties. The Spanish Rojo, there's the Music, which those cloves were massive. And then this is the Dugansky. I don't know how to say that, you guys. I don't know much about it. Okay, now that we're done with that project, I want to sneak back over here. They've been working this whole time, and Aaron and I actually had to run to Home Depot and grab a drip part, that adapter from the hose to the drip line. So they've got quite a bit done. I'll show you. Yeah, look, they've got the outer portion of all of the beds back here done. Wow, what a job. I mean, they're having to level stuff up, and whew, my goodness. Let's look around this way. I think that they maybe this is where they had it earlier on. Oh, this bed's done. This bed was done this morning though, right? And then we'll have another, you know, curve come over here, but yeah, look at that. Seeing it take shape. And then, oh my goodness, you guys, look at this. He's really got a lot done here. My favorite part actually is just seeing the grass gone, because it was looking so bad. Thoughts?
Well, I love it.
Do you?
Yeah. Paul's actually headed. Oh, he's right here. We're gonna.
Get the urn
off.
Oh, good. Do you need my help?
No.
Perfect. Even better.
It might fall again.
Oh. Well, hopefully not. Oh my goodness, you guys. So it's going to open up our view to the Hartley. We get to create that really beautiful cohesion between these spaces. Those bricks are still in there from when I put that hanging basket in there. All right, guys, so that is going to be it for today's projects. There's a lot going on around here, but it was fun to get the garlic in the ground and fun to update you on how everything's going back here. I'm sure that Aaron will pop the footage from Chad's job back here today at the end of this video for those of you who like to see that process, kind of taking it down almost to square one, and then we'll start to rebuild. So thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye.